This is Annie Kid Wolf, and you're watching This is Punk Rock of Punk Globe magazine.
1, 2, 3, 4. Punk rock, punk rock, punk rock. 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 It ain't brain surgery. Punk rock, punk rock, punk rock. 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 It ain't brain surgery. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, welcome the darts. At least two of you, though. This is great. Nicole and Lindsay, we got here. Wonderful. Welcome to This is Punk Rock for Punk Globe magazine. We're excited to have you guys here. I was just watching a video of yours earlier, going, these fucking women rock, man. It was great. Super good.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having
And
us.
back at you, man. Congratulations on your new record too. That's great.
Oh, thank you. We are in the Alternative Tentacles alumni there, so that's
Yeah, it's like we're all fam right now. This is great.
exactly. So, you're off to Europe, right? Is that what's going on with you?
I'm off to Europe with my solo project this week. Yeah, I mean, there's no rest for the wicked. And then I come back and I have like a few local shows. And then the darts go to Europe in May. And then the darts go over the US in June. And we go back to Europe in July. It's like endless. From this day on, it's like the suitcase doesn't get unpacked. So
And I bet you love it though, right?
this is how I want my life. This is exactly how I want my life. I told both of my bookers, I'm like, I love you both forever because you have built my life the way I want it now. So,
Fantastic. That's awesome. That's really good to hear. I'm glad you're spreading the news of the darts all over the world and your solo project too, right? Is
yeah.
that the jazzy one that's a little more jazzy? You have
Yeah,
a
and I
project.
apologize. I've got a train nearby here, but yeah, it's a little it's like neo soul, but it's like I wrote these old torch song sounding things, and then I put trip hop beats under them. And it's like a horn section, an upright bass, and so it's really different than the darts. But for some
Cool.
reason, the darts fans have been buying the records and coming to the shows and grooving
Well,
away.
you say
So
you say for some reason, and the reason is that it's really, really cool, and there's nothing else like it, and it's great.
That's
That's
awesome.
the
I know
reason.
you were just here in Vancouver and I missed your show. I was like, damn.
oh yeah, we had such a fun show. It was so cool. Though we drove in a blizzard, but that's okay. It's cool. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
it's crazy. Like even my bandmates, Lindsay, who's a DJ and stuff too on the side sometimes. Like it's just really cool. Everybody seems to dig it. It's like again, it's like a big family. It's really cool.
that's awesome. And that's the thing about being supportive of each other, because I'm sure you're supportive of her DJ stuff or other bands that people work in. And you just all work together and that's how we kind of uplift each other. And that's a really good segue to about punk rock. Punk rock to me has always been about that, like that camaraderie of working together and hey, I'll help you, I'll play bass on your thing, I'll do this or play drums or whatever, right? So a lot of times people, how many bands do people play in or how many things do they do to support each other? One person will do posters and whatever. So I want to ask you, Nicole, a little bit about the beginning of the darts and why did you start the darts and how did it come up? How did it happen?
Because I was fucking sick of the men in my life. That's how it started. We were playing in the Love Me Nots, me and Christina, for a million years. Christina was the former bass player. And, like I was married to the guitar player and the marriage fell apart too. But like everything fell apart at once. And we were both like, this sucks. Let's start the all girl band we've always dreamed of and let's just do this. So yeah, it was great. And like, it was such a different energy. We didn't even look for people in Phoenix, which is where I was at the time and where she was. We just were like, who do we want in this band? If we could have anybody. So we just we tapped Ricky, who's now back in the band after all this time, Ricky from LA and Michelle from LA. And they jumped on, and within 6 months, the whole thing was signed to Dirty Water Records in London. It just went crazy. We were having the time of our lives. We're still having the time of our lives, by the way. Like, it's never really stopped. It's been a dream, a total dream.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have an incredible stage presence. Even watching, I haven't been able to see you guys live, but watching all the videos and everything, both of you, you have, your whole band is full of, amazing, powerful women. So I think that just right there is enough to pull it in. And also you have pretty in your face, catchy songs. So it's a good combo.
You.
Definitely.
Yeah, when I was looking for new people for this year, it was like Lindsay plays in one of my favorite Seattle bands, 38 Coffin. And when I was touring Europe last summer, people were like, "Oh, you live in Seattle now. Do you know 38 Coffin?" I'm like, "Of course I know 38 Coffin." So like it's been the easiest transition. She's already got this amazing fan base all over the world. Everywhere we were touring this last week, even people were like, "You look like that girl from 38 Coffin." She's like,
Wild.
that girl.
I was like, I am. Yeah.
That's great. So, Lindsay, tell me a little bit about your, coming into the darts and a little bit about your punk rock history. We'll get into both of you guys. I want to dive in right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a big question. My punk rock history, where do you start? I'm very legitimate, not a poser for sure. We'll just say that. We'll start there. Yeah, I mean, I've been a musician since I was a kid. My dad's a guitar player. He taught me how to play bass when I was like 16. And I just always loved music. And let's see, Nicole and I met actually go-go dancing. That's another one of my side gigs that I do.
That's awesome.
It's
Just own it. That's so awesome.
Yeah, so Boots DJ Night is in New York and Seattle, and there are a couple of really great DJs who play 60s rock and soul records, real records, 45s. They don't DJ from a computer. I'm talking about disc jockeys here. And Sarah Savannah moved to Seattle from Paris and said, we need some go-go dance nights here, and just started them with Maxwell. And I got tapped to dance, and then Nicole got roped in somehow. And we just hit it off. And I was like, I think that we should be friends. So I basically did the elementary school thing where I was just like, we should be friends. Will you hang out with me?
Well, yeah, it's that camaraderie thing, like even what we're saying, like you spot each other too, right? Like people,
Yes.
that's the whole thing, I guess when we always go back to punk rock, when you say, I'm not a poser, you're like, honestly, and it's like, no, if you've loved punk rock, if it's been in your heart and played music and didn't play music and watch music and whatever, it's like punk rock is just something you feel, right? And I think that all the interviews that we're going through right now, we're kind of tapping into the movement of punk rock and the feeling and the fashion and the music and how some things sound something different, but it all has that. You all see each other and you're like, oh, you're an outcast, so am I. Let's like hang out. So that's a perfect example of it right there. You just spotted each other and you're like, let's connect, right? We're both dancing here, girl. Let's connect.
Like we have the same hair and we're wearing fringe outfits. This
Yes.
is a marriage made in heaven, and then I found out she was the bass player for 38 Coffin. Like, we're having lunch. That's it. So we went to lunch at Easy Street Records and we connected like from the first. We were with other people, like my boyfriend and stuff, and they all just kind of left. Like we just like found ourselves just talking.
That's awesome.
We talked for so long that her boyfriend left and went and got a tattoo and came back.
The tattoo was probably done and it was probably a back piece.
It was. It was done. Like it was
Yeah.
done. And he still talks about that. And actually, when I was
know.
a bass player, he was like, well, you should ask Lindsay, that girl that you connected with all day. I'm like, yep, that's the one. So,
That's awesome. That's really great. And then that, as we know, when you're in a band, it's like that connection. It's like a mini marriage, right? So you have to connect with those people, not just musically, but personality wise. And if you don't, there can be serious trouble down the road, right? And so it's really nice to have that good connection. I know that my bands always say, yeah, it's like a marriage, and it's true because, you're accountable and you work together and be creative. So it's great that you guys found that, definitely.
yeah, I mean, the Darts have spent in 2023, we did 100 days overseas. Then we did another 100 days overseas, plus domestic shows in 2024. And like, we saw each other more than we saw anybody else, our families, our boyfriend, anybody,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like a huge commitment to each other to be able to make the personalities work and the schedules work. And we have to help each other. And it's like, it's freaking hard, And so you need the right personalities to mesh for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys are really making a big splash for sure with the darts, and that's great. And so tell me a little bit about the tours that you have coming up with the darts. Like, are you playing with some great bands? Where are you guys playing? When do they start, kind of thing?
Well, in May, we're doing a headlining tour that's all centered around the Corn Rock Festival in Switzerland. That's going to be really cool. And then in June, we're centering it around a run that we're doing with Russell Simmons' band. Russell Simmons from John Spencer's band. Russell Simmons has an amazing band called Service. It's incredible. You would love it, and just love it. Anyway, they're going out with us for a bunch of dates in the Midwest. So we did like a whole tour around like all over the Midwest, from Memphis and, Chattanooga, like all crazy places that we haven't been before. Not that Chattanooga's crazy, but it's a little crazy.
Okay.
And
In the
then,
name.
I mean, yeah, we haven't been to these places. It's really cool. And then we go back to Europe in July for Binnock Festival, which is one of the huge festivals I've always wanted to play in France. And just a lot of other stuff. Just like festival. We're going to Croatia. We're playing the Blackpool Festival in UK. We're doing Luna Fest in Portugal. We're doing all these things. It's just the whole summer of July is crazy. And then we come back and we do all of September with one of my favorite garage rock kings, Dion Lunadon, who's doing most of the September with us all around the East
Oh,
Coast.
wonderful. That's
Yeah,
great. Oh, that sounds like a fun year for sure.
that's
Good
just
for
up
you
to
guys.
September, and then it keeps
Yeah.
going after. That's crazy.
Um,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's so intense, but it's wonderful, right? So, tell me about the first time you ever heard punk rock. I'm gonna ask you both. Like, so Nicole, start me out on the first time you heard punk rock and kind of how it affected you. Just the
Unlike
music or the movement, or if you read it in a magazine, or if there's something you were in a gig, like what is your experience with the first time that you heard punk?
I'm unlike Lindsay. In fact, I'm unlike everybody I know in the punk rock world, because I started out with classical piano, and I was a very competitive classical pianist all through like childhood and high school, like traveling all over and playing 6 hours a day, and no exposure to pop music of any kind really until much later in life, when I didn't have time to do the practicing. And then I was playing this organ sound and this little Casio keyboard kind of thing, fronting this kind of cheesy cover band. And Michael Johnny Walker, who ended up making the Love Me Nots, was like, you play this farfisa sound. Do you know what a farfisa is? I'm like, no, I just know I like the sound on this Casio. And he's like, you should buy a farfisa and we should start a band. So he started this band, and he like took it upon himself to sit down and educate me. He had like a billion records. And so The Damned and, Dead Kennedys, early Dead Kennedys stuff. I can't even name the Seeds, the Animals, not that they were super punk, but like just everything that he loved came to the forefront, Cramps, all that stuff. And I felt like something unlocked in my brain. And it was part of it was like, oh, you can play a keyboard, an organ sound like at the Doors, and then you can be cool and not just be this Mozart geek. You can actually play cool stuff that's really, you can lie on the floor and do amazing things with everybody else. For the first time, I realized that you can do that. So that was the unlocking. And then as I delved into it and I got to know Jello, and the bands started performing, there's something about the punk rock thing where you feel like you can just do anything. There are no rules. It's anti everything. It's from coming from a classical music background and university studies and law. I was a lawyer in law school, and there's all these rules. To do this stuff, it's like, do whatever you want. Throw your leg over the guy in the front row, like throw your organ onto your bass player. It doesn't matter, like it's
So, okay, so back up for a minute. So when you say you were a lawyer and you went to law school, so how does that, like, because of that's a lot of set of rules, and it's very and so taking that, do you think that maybe some of that, all that wanting to throw your leg over the guy in the front row and your chaos that you bring, do you think that was all super suppressed for so long with the classical?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, it was. And I was even raised by an Asian mother. You can just imagine, like the amount of rule following that was built into my brain. It's still hard for me. It's when I'm not on stage. For some reason, I get on stage and it all comes out. But when I'm off stage, I still have trouble, like, just saying what I think and being open to things, because it's hard. It's hard to shed those layers of, I don't want to disappoint anyone, that kind of thing. It's just terrifying. So yeah, there was a huge sense of freedom, really, for the first time in my life, that came out through the music.
That's awesome. How about you?
She'll play my bass with her foot.
Oh yeah, I play the bass with my foot. Yeah, I do that too.
Yes, and
my legs
stuff marked on my pick card.
So Lindsay, what about you? What about first hearing punk rock, and where were you, and what was, how did it make you feel?
Yeah, so I will actually, this is a scene that is in my brain. I will never forget the moment.
Nice.
I was at my friend Christian's house in 7th grade, and we were listening to music, and he put on Bikini Kill's CD version of the first 2 records. And I was like, what? I was like, what is this? And I made sure to like memorize what the cover looked like. And it was like, I don't know, I had never heard anything quite like it before, but it just hit me right in the solar plexus, just like went straight into my soul. And I was like, this is something that I need to know more about. I wanted to hear more of it. I wanted to find out more about the other bands, that were in that scene. Like, I was immediately like sucked in. This was like back before, the internet existed, but it wasn't, you can't compare it to the internet we have now. So like, I was like, I got a job at a burger place, and I was on the Kill Rock Stars mailing list, and I would just blind buy records from labels that I liked, K or Kill Rock Stars, or, stuff like that, where I was like, and I still have some of the records. Like, I played some of them at the DJ night we did the other night. These records, these 7 inches that I bought as a teenager, not knowing anything about it, just knowing like, this is a label I like, and I have to absorb as much of this as possible.
Her record collection is epic. It's so cool. She has the coolest stuff.
You got Jello style collection there. Jello's epic.
It's getting there. I stayed at Jello's house once, and it's like walls and walls and bedrooms and all this stuff. But like, Lindsay's got like she said, she's got like this almost unlabeled Kill Rock Stars band. What were they called? Peaches or something?
Peaches. And oh my God, these bands are so cool, and you'd never know about them ever in a million years.
That's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, Jello with his floors of albums. It's ridiculous, right?
It's amazing. And his cats are climbing all over.
I'm nowhere near that level of obsessive collector.
Well, you got your
But
obsession down, and it was fueled by the punk rock, which is fantastic. And so what about playing bass? Like, when did you get into playing bass?
around the same time, I had picked up violin in fourth grade because fourth grade is when in the Seattle public schools you got to choose an instrument and you could leave regular class and go to your music class, which I was like anything to get out of regular class. Um, so I
I
just picked
grabbed that
up
train too. I grabbed it.
the trick, yeah. So I picked violin. I don't know why. And I played that for a few years, but was really like not super into practicing. Like my parents had to nag me, and I never really made a whole lot of like, I never got good. And then when I was in seventh grade, again, it was that sort of turning point for me where I was kind of figuring out like who I was and what I liked outside of my parents, which I think is, pretty normal for that age. And I was like, I don't want to play violin anymore. And Smashing Pumpkins had they had come out with Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and that was like playing on the local rock station, songs from that. So I discovered Darcy, the bass player from the Smashing Pumpkins, and I was like, this is what I want. I want to be, I want to do that.
That's great. Yeah,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah. So my dad's a musician, and he kind of knew how to help support me in that. So he got me my first P bass. He bought me a used combo amp, and I was off. And then, surprise, surprise, it's not that I don't like practicing. It's just that I hadn't found the right instrument yet. I was playing
Yeah,
all the
definitely.
time, started a band, the whole
The
thing.
right instrument, the right music, the right feel. It's got to feel it. And I think that a lot of people have tapped into the fact that when they first heard punk rock, it was like, I'm home, or these are my people, or I want to know more, because that's the way it was for me, for sure, right? So I'm loving the stories about how people are, how people tap in and what they feel when they hear it or how they get there, because it's kind of it's such a it's such a experience now that's all over the world, punk rock, and before, when I was a kid, it was like a group of us. It would like you'd see them from, and you'd be like, oh, there's one, and now it's like, oh, I'm gonna go get my hair coloring at the drugstore, and it's just get some green, and it's very different, right? And we have the, like you say about the internet, so the internet's just out there, and we have different marketing tools and all kinds of things to help us today that we didn't have. And a lot of people never have to leave the house. So I wanted to do this series to bring people like you into other people's places. But you guys are all over the place, so we're really happy to have you here.
It's just
And
a flip. We got back last night. I think I drove up at midnight last night, and here we are. And I'm
that's,
leaving in 2 days. So, like you caught us at exactly the moment.
I know, I was like, here's the window. I'm jumping in. So yeah, so tell me what you guys have planned for besides this year and lots of touring and everything. Are you working on a new album? Because I know you put one out a little bit ago, right?
Well, yeah, I like to do an album a year. That's what my life is like. I like to do that with all my projects as much as I can. We took a little break during the pandemic because for obvious reasons.
So do you have hold on, I'll just catch it. Do you have a schedule, like a tour thing and then record? Do you have like a set time? Like you like, oh, I like to record in November, or because you say an
It's
album a year.
That's interesting that you say that. I didn't realize this until somebody pointed it out, but it seems like in September, I start writing new songs like crazy. It's like the beginning of the school year mentality or something. Like something happens where I just start writing like crazy. And so it seems like we usually end up recording in November and December. I'm not sure why that is. Probably that's just the natural evolution. But I also write songs constantly. So I have backlogs of songs in the van. That's kind of what I do. I just write songs all day. And so I think in September, I get real about like, okay, I'm going to brush these up and I'm going to polish this one off and we're going to figure it out. But yeah, my goal is I just wrote to the studio yesterday, actually. My goal is to get back into the studio in maybe even as early as August this year because we're going to be close to the studio on tour that I want to use. And so, yeah, I've already got easily 10, 15 songs kind of mulling around, ready to go if we want them. But now Lindsay and Ricky both have ideas. They're both songwriters too. And they bring a lot to the table that I didn't have before. So I'm going to see what they want to do, and we're going to spend the summer in the van writing songs. So it's going to be
That's
really
great. So like a new collaboration maybe for the next album.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people probably don't realize this because I do so much of the writing, but um, that we did a record called "I Like You But Not Like That." That Ricky actually, she would send me like voice memos while she was out. She's like, "Hey, I'm out walking my dog, and I had this idea. There's like chromatic line. It goes like this, and I want it to go my way. It's my way." I'm like, okay, I'll work with that. And I wrote the whole song my way off that. And it became like this huge song. We ended every show with it for years. Like it's on all these comps. But
Awesome.
and so she got songwriting credit, with me for the ideas and stuff like that. So she might not be like the songwriter person like that, that people think you have to be, but she has great ideas. She'll throw me a drum beat. Lindsay does most of the songwriting for 38 Coffin. Like I know she can write her ass off. So it's like, it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and then that's a great example. Like she sparked off the song and helped you with that bass. You never would have even thought about that song unless it was inspired by her moment. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's how Jello writes, right? As we know Jello so well, is that's how he writes. He like hums a line into like a cassette tape many years ago and wrote most of the Dead Kennedy songs that way,
I
right?
did not know that. I
That
did not know
it's
that.
it's actually Jello that wrote a lot of that, like like he'll just and he has that and he's always sticks to it. I know when him and I produced my first album in Vancouver, he had an idea for something and he was like, I hear this, and then my other guitar player, he was like, nope. Nope, and got it exactly the way he heard it. So it's like it doesn't songwriting to me is so fluid. Like everyone can just work together on it, and I love that you're open to collaborating with people and not like these are my you're really like, yeah, I want to expand and I want to bring in that energy.
Oh
That's great.
yeah. In fact, on most of our records, we have a song that was contributed, like the riff was contributed by my friend Richard Romero in LA, or by Underground Garage DJ John Carlucci has written a lot of the bass lines for some of our stuff, and I'll work off of those. And yeah, I'm all about the collaboration. It's really nice to get that difference, that to get a starting point. I like to get a starting point from somebody and then take it from there. That's like perfect.
That's awesome. So what does punk mean to you women today? Like what does the word mean? How does it make you feel, and how has that evolved today? Like,
Lindsay, take that one.
Man, I don't know. I guess when I was younger, it was more about pushing against something, you know? Like really, I felt very called to be antagonistic and negative and just very negative, pessimistic. And I loved the idea of like self-destruction. And I was very self-destructive and very like just sowing harm and chaos everywhere. And like, I really felt like that was a big part of my identity and a big part of being a punk. And I think there's space for that for sure. But for me personally, as I've gotten older, it's more about leaning into um I don't know, like this might sound crazy and cheesy, but it's like when you strip away all of the artifice of like, like the negativity and the grime, and you can look at who I actually am, like who we actually are, and lean into that in a way that's like, I'm not kicking against, I'm gonna say I'm not kicking against the establishment ever, but it's not from a place of just automatic opposition. It's from a place of knowing what's important to me and what my values are and standing up for them. And it's more focused, and then I can lean into what's positive, like you started out this interview talking about community and supporting each other, and like building that community is so important, especially when there are outside forces that are really trying to harm people who are marginalized or who are part of our community. And it's about being like, no, no to that, not just an automatic no to anything because I don't want to participate in the world. It's because I do want to participate in the world and I want to make it better,
That's awesome. I love that.
And loud music helps fuel it.
Yeah, and that's that sense, like we were saying, it all goes back around to the sense of community when we were younger, and then the sense of community today, and what does that mean, right? And punk is something where people just a lot of people who are not into it, they just kind of brush it off. They're like, oh yeah, rebels, oh that music or whatever. But it's so much more, right? And that's why this series I think is important, because so many people have so many different takes. And so Nicole, I'd love to hear your take on it today.
You know, like I said, with my background, I always feel like a poser when we're talking about any style of music that isn't Chopin, but it's from what I get from it, it's about freedom. It's about not having a strict set of rules. And I'm sure that applies in a lot of styles of music and prog rock and whatever, but especially in punk, it just feels like as we go from place to place and tour, we play with all kinds of bands. We play with a bluegrass band, and then we'll play with a lounge band, and then we'll play with a metal band and or reggae thing. And in Europe, everybody's at the show having a blast. And the fact that we're punk or a style of punk, or I don't even know if we fit the punk label exactly, it just means to me that we're the ones that are free to do whatever we want and to play it however we want. And, thank God for Jello, because he has created this label that really defines it so well. It's he's defined it by being undefinable. He's got like Jucifer doing these like folk tunes, and he's got like, the Darts doing garage stuff, and he's got like, he's got everything. It's like this gamut of Jello's brain. And to me, that's punk. Like there are no rules. You're doing what you want, but you're doing it at a very high level, and you're saying what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. To me, it's really about that community is a big one, right? And about this sense of doing doing it yourself also, like when you're talking about the tours and your energy level of like, we're gonna do this and then we're getting this done, and I did this and and that's, you're moving forward because of that energy level, and you're doing it yourself, whether you have a label that's an indie label or you have a booking agent, whatever that is, you still have to be that machine to push it. And to me, that's a big thing about punk is that being that do-it-yourself attitude. And so for you as punk, Nicole, punk is a movement, not just the music. Can you feel that? Because you're obviously not a poser. I think the poser is a funny word. That was cute. Lindsay's like, I'm not a poser. It's like so awesome. But it's like you guys are obviously feeling it. So if you're feeling it, then it's part of who you are, right? And it comes out in your music. So that is definitely a part of who you are, Nicole. So it's like, how do you feel of that as a movement? Punk as a movement.
Oh gosh. I mean, first of all, has it ever been more important than now? I mean, my goodness. I mean, my mom came up in the 60s, and she was an Indian female physicist who had just moved to the United States. I mean, talk about like, it was rough, right? Really rough. There was racism, there was sexism, there was all that stuff going on then. And she broke all the glass ceilings and did her thing. And now it feels like we're right back where we started again, trying to do all the same battles all over again. Like, what was all that time? What happened? I mean, this backlash is insane that we're facing right now. So what better time for this movement, honestly, to get up there, and of all the times we could have strong women doing strong things and saying what they mean, this is our moment. You know, this century just turned, and we gotta make it right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that you tapped in on that. That's great because that's exactly how it is, right? Right now that's the community working together is pushing that stuff because it seems like, so many people and activists worked for so long to get rights and to push things through and to say no, this is not right. And then what ended up happening is it just was like it's like the swing where finally, and then it just kept pushing and pushing, and then it was like the right were like, okay, now we're pushing back, and now it's come so far in such a crazy direction that we need this music and this movement and this energy way more right now. And I think that, like in the Depression in the 20s, the only industry that thrived was the entertainment, the film industry, right? And that was because everybody wanted to escape. And now we need to have music like you guys out there and just push those boundaries and show young, women, and show people in the community, the LGBTQ community plus community that I'm dyslexic, so sometimes I'll say those letters all wrong. So showing that community that we are all together and we're working to be there and to give that strength, right? And I my hat's off to you guys for pushing through and doing those tours and playing and giving that space. I was watching a video and someone on the stage said, "Hey, stop messing with those women in the front." And then somebody took them away. And I was like, yeah, there you go. You got the power right there on the stage, and I love that. And I really appreciate you guys. If you want to add anything else, do either one of you have any closing remarks? Nicole?
I just wanted to say thank you for having us. I mean, this is a whole new face of the band that's starting in 2025, and you're the first one to show Lindsay doing her thing, and she's
Awesome.
just a cool person. Everybody in this lineup, Becca and Ricky, and we've got Heather Thomas coming in for the May dates. Every woman involved in this project has been and will be somebody that I admire. And they blow my mind every night, not just in how they play, which is huge, by the way. Incredible musicians. We don't even rehearse ever. We just go on tour. Like, it's crazy. They blow my mind on stage, and then you get off stage, and this lineup, they came to merch every night. They sold everything. They carried everything. It was such a team feeling that I wish everybody had that in their life. I really do. It's an incredible amount of support.
Well, maybe you're inspiring people to have that. There you go. Maybe people will start to, little people will come and see you. They'll be young and they'll be like, I want to be like the Darts. So
yeah, you want to be like the Darts? Carry each other's
those.
gear out at the end of the night, and take turns driving the van, and if someone's hurt, pick them up. And there's a million things that you can do to just help each other on a tiny day-to-day basis that most people turn a blind eye to be honest. And you can't be DIY, by yourself. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of work. It's a lot of sweat. Yeah, we have a booking agent, and yeah, we have help with some things. But at the end of the day, at midnight last night, who was driving the van? The night before that, who was carrying out all the merch with my mother, like
Yeah.
out to the van? The band, and that's what we do. And anybody who complains about doing that stuff shouldn't be in this world. It's not
Well, they're not punk then if they're complaining.
exactly. There's no entitlement in punk rock. There's
Well,
no entitlement.
there
You have
definitely
to
shouldn't be.
pull your own weight.
I know my band
Yeah.
always jokes that I have. I joke with them that my LSS, my lead singer syndrome is really bad, and I apologize because I'm always carrying drum gear out, and they're like, "You're not a lead singer." So,
So true.
Lindsay, give us some closing remarks for what you have to say about this and what's going on for 2025. And I know I'm asking like 9 questions at once. And tell me about your
Yeah.
blog and tell me about
Well, I guess I just would like to say that, the darts have a really enthusiastic fan base. They have a great reputation, and they have, they're known for not only putting out great records, but putting on like a really high energy, intense live show. And, I was a little nervous about joining the band, because it's like a big shoe to fill, and it's important. And I would never want to step into something that had been great and like diminish it with my presence. And so, you know, going out on this first leg I was a little bit like, okay, here we go, let's see. And it was awesome. It was so fun. I had a great time on stage every night. Nicole is really fun to perform with because she's so dynamic and really just gets everybody hyped and keeps the energy up on stage, so I can just like slip right into that. And um you know uh like Nicole said, it's like everybody's been so supportive of each other. We've been carrying each other's gear. I carried a guitar amp, somebody else is carrying my cabinet. It's just like just making
get
it
it
happen
done. Get it
together.
done.
And yeah, get it done. And it feels great, and it's felt so supportive, and I'm just really, really excited to like get back on the road and do it all again.
Perfect. Well, thank you, amazing women. Thank you both so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing one of your shows one of these days. So we will keep everyone informed with some little things at the bottom of the interview. So we'll tell people where to find you, and definitely Alternative Tentacles. Go to their alternativetentacles.com site and check you guys out on YouTube because there's some great videos there, live performances, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, thank you both so much for being here, and good luck with the tour.
Thank you very much, Annie. This was great.
Having this.
Yeah, so wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.